preparing your animal shelter, and demarcation for your goat farming projects. What is building camps? The process of creating animal separation units for different uses, especially towards control and management of your farming plan. And also, what is it to create shelter? Choosing the right shelter for goats is based on the type of location your project is positioned at. It is important to choose the right structure model to sustain and support your goats. These are the questions that you should ask yourselves when you are planning to create camps as well as shelter for your goats. How many camps do you need? What is the size of your structures? The type of separation fences to use and material. What material do you do your camps with? The types of roofing and flooring. How will your storage units for feeds and medication look like? How to manage waste and fluids. Do you have a cleaning plan? We are also going to go in depth into how to build the right infrastructure for your goats. But it's also important to note this, that goats require a very, very dry and very warm area in order for them to be functional, to breed, to be in season. In season we mean to be in the purposes for mating and all these other things, because more or less goats are for specifically that. We are keeping goats because we want them to reproduce. Now, one very important thing to also take note of is that the gestation period for goats is 150 days to about 158 days, meaning that in a year, your goats can actually give you kids twice a year. So within this twice a year, there are breeding seasons, meaning there are seasons at which your goats need to be in heat. They need to mate with each other. They need to give you kids, because if they do not give you kids, they are not, we call them not productive. So infrastructure here plays a very, very important role, because it manages how you want your goats to be breeding. It manages how you want your goats to be in shelter. It manages how your goats will be separated from each other, because that's another very important thing to take note of. Goats shouldn't live together because they get used to each other's scent. Goats have a very, very strong scent towards each other, at which it channels the natural sexual nature of them to be able to be attractive to each other. So you need to keep your males separated from your females. Now, this will generally be able to help the ostrich cycle, which is the female reproduction cycle, at which it helps for it to be ready to be able to capture or normally the eggs, or when it actually helps it to be ready to be pregnant. So even with the males as well, the males need to be separated, because they also have a scent which the females feel in heat when they smell. Then once they smell it, they are attracted to each other. So once they become attracted to each other, then they can start copulating or mating. So in this instance, infrastructure really means how you're actually aiming to separate your camps, your animals. You have male camps, you have female camps, you have young ones camps, you have kidding camps, you have maternity wards, and so on, just like with humans, at which you need to keep everybody separated from each other. So with regards to infrastructure, we also touch on the fencing that you're going to be using. Goats are very mischievous animals that can actually go through any form of opening, which then becomes very, very difficult to manage. So also in that instance, you need to have the right fencing, at which you're also going to touch on as we move on. In order to choose the right building structure, it depends on your budget, but also have it in mind that you want to control both air circulation as well as the flooring, where you're going to be controlling the waste of the goats and then protecting them from wild animals as well as theft. In order to choose the right goat structure, here's a list of questions that you need to check before you actually start. What type of water management system or drainage system will you be using? What type of waste management system to collect all the waste from feces and others? Do you have an insulation material on the floor, which could be hay or anything that is soft that separates the animals from the flooring? The type of temperature controlling system with sheeting you are using in the room. What flooring or roof type are you using? Are you using recycled hay or timber on the floor to insulate your goats from the flooring that you have used? For fencing, what type of fencing will you be using to create your camps, as well as to fence out the farm or the operation site? Bonox fencing is the best type of fencing to be used for goats because it is wider on the top and more narrow at the bottom. Just go and ask for Bonox fencing, galvanized, livestock fencing with barbed wire to the top and mesh range with about 150 millimeters, and the poles you should use are tar poles or strong poles in order for them to be resistant to termites and other external parasites that might want to eat the poles. Now that you have everything in place in terms of shelter, the type of shelter that you want to use, as well as the fencing, it's now easy to go back to your farming plan and to orchestrate how you're going to be doing your project. This is just the final list at which you just need to check off. Always remember, use affordable flooring, but easy to clean and manage in terms of waste. Insulate material from the floor through or with grass, wood, timber, etc. Roof tilting is very important for water control in order for you not to have water leakage when there is rainfall, and which can affect your animal health. Always ensure that you can be able to control water in your shelters. Having a proper drainage system in your shelters as well as outside your shelters actually saves you a lot of money from treating your animals from diseases like foot rot. Use galvanized fencing for livestock and use fencing gaps to keep wild animals out. That is how you're going to be having an effective farming plan moving forward. The results from this will be coming in the form of better breeding control, separation of goats, better record keeping, accurate birth estimates, control of goat herd, gender separation, feeding and vaccination, proper estimation to feeds and treatment costs, and protection of goats, limiting threats inside and outside.